Hello students, I welcome you back again to today's physics lecture of class 12th. We were studying 10th chapter, magnetic fields due to electric current. So far, we have understood and developed our conceptual understanding about how magnetic fields are produced due to current carrying conductors, the effect of electric as well as magnetic fields on the motion of charge, how one can use right hand thumb rule. Later, we have understood Lorentz force and the effect of force, magnetic force acting on a current carrying conductor when it is kept mutually perpendicular to magnetic field. Today, in this lecture, we are going to study the force experience, rather torque experienced by a loop, and we are going to understand the working of moving coil galvanometer. Magnetic force acting on an arbitrary shaped current carrying conductor when kept in uniform magnetic field. Here we can see that there is a random shape wire which is shaped wire. This is that wire. This wire is carrying current I and is kept in external uniform magnetic field B. You can see that this whole wire is kept in external uniform magnetic field. See, one should show like this, but here it is simply shown by one dot with circle. So the whole length of this arbitrary shaped current carrying conductor is within the magnetic field. Now I want to find out the magnetic force acting on this wire. So it is not simple as we have studied in the previous article. One cannot use directly to find out this. So what we can do, we can divide this wire into n number of small segment lengths dl. One such segment, what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide this wire in number of segments of very small length in this manner. Of all these lengths, I'm going to select, say, this length whose length is dl. So don't you think this small length dl carrying current I will produce magnetic field around itself, and that magnetic field must be very small. Therefore, I'm going to denote it by dFm, small magnetic force. This small magnetic force from previous article, we can write it down as dFm to be equal to I vector dl cross B, right? Equation number 1. So I want to find out the net magnetic force acting on the total length of this arbitrary current carrying conductor. So can we say the total magnetic force Fm should be equal to integration of all these small magnetic forces acting on the n number of length segments starting from beginning to end. This can be done by integration. So Fm to be equal to integration of dFm vector, equation number 2. Substitute dFm from equation 1. I have Fm to be equal to I integration dl cross B. Therefore, Fm is equal to I in bracket integration dl cross B. So can we say that the net magnetic force Fm depends on the total length of that arbitrary current carrying conductor that is there inside the magnetic field. Magnetic force acting on current carrying a loop inside uniform magnetic field. Again, this is another application of force being experienced by current carrying conductors kept in external uniform magnetic fields. Here I have got uniform magnetic field B directed outward. I'm going to take a current carrying loop in a rectangular or square form, say A, B, C, D. Let I be the current going clockwise within this loop. You all can see that the whole loop is inside the magnetic field, and we are going to derive the expression for magnetic force experienced by this loop. So shall we go ahead with this then? Like previous article, we will divide this loop into n number of small segments of length dl. So can we start at A and end at A? dl, 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 like this. So I'm going to take one such small length dl somewhere here, and this segment which is having current I will produce small magnetic field dfm close to it. Can we say dfm here in this manner? So this dfm is nothing but given by equation number 1. dfm is equal to I dl cross b. Therefore, the total magnetic force Fm acting on loop starting from A back to A is nothing but sum of magnetic forces dFm acting on each length segment dl starting from A back to A. This can be done with the help of integration. You can see, being a loop here, I should integrate this over a closed loop, and therefore dfm is integrated over closed path starting from A to A again. One can also write it like this. Substituting equation 1 in equation 2, we have fm is equal to I line integral over closed path dl cross b. Remember, this bracketed term is the sum of vector quantity, and it is being summed up over a closed path, which means that the sum of this needs to be or has to be equal to 0. Therefore, the net magnetic force acting on any current carrying loop within the magnetic field is always equal to 0. The condition is that B must be uniform in that case. Let us continue with the same concept and add certain unique situation to the previous concept. Magnetic force acting on current carrying loop inside uniform magnetic field. Same thing, but I want you to make aware of certain things. Remember, in this article, what we have studied, we have had a loop A, B, C, D, A carrying current I within the magnetic field. The net magnetic force Fm was equal to 0. Am I right? Why? Because the whole loop was inside the magnetic field, and I have given in my conclusion here. Now, in this case, in this example, what you see is that there is magnetic field. Can you see? This is magnetic field which is directed outward. But the same loop that I have shown you there, which is A, B, C, D, A, in this case is not completely inside the magnetic field, but only some part, some length of this loop is inside the magnetic field. Rest is outside the magnetic field. That means, will this loop have net magnetic force Fm is equal to 0? No, this is not going to be equal to 0. There will be some force acting on this part AB and this extended part. This part will experience some force and it will have some direction, and hence loop as a whole, which is partially inside the magnetic field, will not have Fm to be equal to 0. This is helpful for you people to solve numericals. Let us come down to a very important article of this chapter, torque on a current carrying loop. Now, let me elaborate this. This is really very important article and slightly difficult to understand as well. Here, I have given you a diagram. In this diagram, I have shown you two poles of independent magnets or horseshoe magnets, north and south, within which there is uniform magnetic field from north to south, and I have kept a rectangular loop PQRS with an axis about which it can rotate if external force acts on it. The arrangement is as shown. You can come down to the diagram onto your screen given to the right of you. Here I have north and south pole again, and there is a rectangular loop kept in the magnetic field. Let me run this video and try to explain what has happened. Here we can see that a rectangular loop of length L and breadth B is kept in external magnetic field whose plane is parallel to that of magnetic field. We are going to connect the end terminals of this loop to a battery externally, and the arrangement is such that the rectangular loop PQRS can rotate about a central axis, which I have already mentioned in the left hand side diagram. Now, what is that force which causes rotational motion in this? Let us understand in the following slides. Same diagram I have taken here, and I have taken one important position of the video that I have already shown you. What is it? In this case, for the position of this rectangular loop PQRS of length L and breadth B, I have the plane of the rectangular loop parallel to the magnetic field. There is one more concept one has to understand. Remember, it is called area vector. As far as current carrying loops are concerned, area vector of current carrying loops is perpendicular to plane of the loop. Now, the plane has got two directions, one upward. Here, I may have area vector upward, or I might have area vector in the downward direction, because both are perpendicular to plane of the loop. Which one is right then? That can be found with the identification of flow of current through this. Now, in this case, current is going in this manner. See here, current is going P, Q, R, S in this manner, right? So current is going like this. So I need to hold my right hand such that the curled finger should be in the direction of current. Then don't you think thumb is in the downward direction? So can I say that the area vector of this rectangular loop PQRS is in the downward direction? Remember this, dear students. I'm going to take this concept somewhere during my explanation later. So let us come back to the main derivation. Position of the plane is parallel to the magnetic field. That means area vector is perpendicular to the magnetic field B. Okay, so let us proceed. This part PQ of this rectangular loop, whose length is L, is inside the magnetic field and it is perpendicular to the direction of magnetic field B. That means the angle between L and B is 90 degrees. So don't you think that the force acting on this length PQ, if I mention it as F1, then F1 vector must be equal to I vector L cross vector B, equation 1. Magnitude F1 is equal to I LB sine theta. As I said, theta is 90 degrees. So sine 90 is 1. So F1 is equal to ILB. What shall be the direction of this force, by the way? Can we say that? We can use Fleming's left hand rule to identify the direction of this force. See here, I have shown left hand, middle finger is in the direction of current, forefinger is in the direction of B. So thumb is the direction of magnetic force. It is in the downward direction. So can you see that the force acting on this is in the downward direction, and hence I have clearly mentioned F1 is equal to ILB in the downward direction. Is this clear? As far as the other side is concerned, the breadth side QR is concerned, the force acting on QR, if I mention it as F2 vector, then F2 should be equal to I vector B cross vector B. Now small b vector is the length of QR. Therefore, I have written it as. So F2 is equal to I BB sine theta. Theta is equal to 0. Remember, QR is parallel to B. Therefore, theta is 0. Sine 0 is 0. So there is no magnetic force acting on QR. F2 therefore is equal to 0. No force at all. Is this clear? There is no force acting on QR side. Now let us move on to the other side then, which is that QS. So let me show you here. Can you see the RS length, the third side of this rectangular loop? Current is going from R to S. Its length is L. If magnetic force acting on this side is denoted by F3, then F3 must be equal to I vector L cross vector B, which is nothing but F3 to be equal to ILB sine theta. Theta is 90, sine 90 is 1, so F3 is equal to ILB. Now what should be the direction of this force? You can use Fleming's left hand rule. Let us come down to the diagram again. See here, if you use Fleming's left hand rule, then direction of F3 is upward, which is clearly mentioned by blue arrow on RS side. We have got one more side left, that is SP, whose breadth is B. Therefore, force F4 is equal to I vector B cross B. F4 therefore is equal to IBB sine theta. Theta here is 180 degrees. Remember, we are considering direction of current with that of direction of magnetic field B. So theta is equal to 180 degrees. Sine 180 is equal to 0. Therefore, no force on the fourth side here. So can we say F4 is equal to 0 then? Yes. So we have got all the forces that are experienced by this rectangular loop when it is kept in external magnetic field with its plane parallel to the field. Yes. Now let us come down to this diagram. Here we can see that of the four sides of this rectangular loop, two are experiencing zero force and two are experiences two equal but opposite forces, F1 and F3, which are clearly shown. And this rectangular loop can rotate about an axis which I have already mentioned. See, this is that axis about which it is going to rotate it, right? So this is that axis here. It is going to rotate about this axis. Now, as we can see that there is distance of B by 2 of F1 and F3 from that axis, right? This is B by 2 distance because breadth of this side itself is B. So from axis to F1 and axis to F3 is B by 2. We know that the moment of force produced due to a single force about a given axis is nothing but the force into perpendicular distance, or one can say moment arm. Here moment arm is B by 2. So hence can I say torque tau acting on this rectangular loop PQRS must be equal to tau 1 plus tau 3. This should be tau 3. Hence tau is equal to tau 1. What is tau 1? Torque acting on that first side. So it should be force, magnetic force acting on that side F1 into the moment arm, that is B by 2. So F1 B by 2 plus likewise F3 B by 2. This is important part of this derivation. If you understand this, I am sure the whole article becomes much simpler. I'll repeat. Tau, torque is nothing but force into distance from the axis. In case of tau 1, force is F1 and distance is B by 2. Therefore, F1 B by 2. Likewise, for tau 3, it is F3D, that is B by 2. So it is F3 B by 2. Hence, if we add this, tau is equal to I L B B. Small b is breadth. But we know area of cross section or area of this rectangular loop A is nothing but L into B. Substitute this in equation N8. Tau is equal to IBA. So if I have got one loop kept in external magnetic field, then torque experienced by that single loop will be equal to IBA. If I have got a coil of N turns, then the torque Therefore, experienced by coil is equal to NBIA, equation number 10. This part of this article is really simple and one can easily understand. Let us move on to the next slide. The torque acting on current carrying loop when it is parallel to the magnetic field is equal to NBIA. Now, if the plane of current carrying loop is inclined to the magnetic field, then the area vector of corresponding current carrying loop will be in this direction. This will be the direction of area vector. Now, if this area vector makes an angle theta with the magnetic field, then the plane of the current carrying loop will make an angle 90 minus theta with the magnetic field. If the position of current carrying loop is in this situation, then what will be the corresponding torque? Let us derive the expression for this. Now, let us call the corresponding magnetic forces by dash. Say, for the first side, it will be F1 dash, for the second side, F2 dash, and so on. I have shown you the diagram in the figure given below. In this figure, you can see that PQRS P loop is inclined to the magnetic field by an angle 90 minus theta, right? Then let us find out the magnetic forces acting on all the four sides of this loop. So let us go for the first side, that is PQ side. If the corresponding magnetic force is F1 dash, then it should be given as I L cross B. What I mean to say is F1 dash vector should be equal to I vector L cross vector B. Therefore, F1 dash is equal to ILB sine theta. Theta is 90 degrees, sine 90 is 1. Therefore, F1 dash is equal to ILB, equation number 3. F1 dash is a vector quantity, so it should have direction. The direction is obtained by Fleming's left hand rule. So, if we apply Fleming's left hand rule, then you can see in the diagram, forefinger is in the direction of magnetic field, middle finger as far as PQ is concerned is in the direction of current, thumb is directed downward. So, F1 dash is the force that is acting in the downward direction. So, force F1 dash by equation 3 is acting in the downward direction. If we go for the next side, that is QR, whose length is B, force acting on this side will be vector F2 dash, which should be equal to I vector B cross vector B. So, F2 dash should be equal to I BB sine 90 degree minus theta, which is written as I BB cos theta, as sine 90 minus theta is equal to cos theta. So, can we say that the force acting on QR is IBB cos theta? What about its direction? As it is not equal to 0, like previous case, it should have some direction. So, let us find out its direction then. How to find out the direction? The direction is found with the help of, again, right hand rule. How to apply this right hand rule? Let me tell you. In this figure, you can see that the area vector of current carrying loop is in this direction, right? So, I should hold my right hand. Can you see this? The right hand should be held along the or on the axis of this loop such that all the four fingers should be pointing in the direction of current flowing through QR, and the fingers should be curled in the direction of area vector. So, my fingers should curl towards the area vector, which means thumb is pointing in this direction. This is how you can find out the direction of force F2 dash. So, F2 dash is in the upward direction as far as this figure is concerned. Next, we have got one more side, RS. Current is going in the downward direction. So, if I use the formula to derive expression for force acting on that side, then F3 dash should be equal to I BB sine theta, right? But the angle here is 90 degrees, so sine 90 degree is equal to 1. So F3 dash is equal to ILB maximum force, equation number 6. The direction of this force is again given by Fleming's left hand rule, and you will see that the force F3 dash is acting in the upward direction, opposite to that of force F1 dash. Let us move on to the remaining side, the fourth side, SP. The force acting on this, the magnetic force acting on this side will be F4 dash. Vector F4 dash is equal to I vector B cross vector B. Then F4 dash is IBB sine 90 minus theta. Sine 90 minus theta is cos theta. So F4 dash is equal to IBB cos theta. Its direction is again given by the right hand rule. You can see that the right hand rule suggests that the direction of force F4 is towards us outside, equal to that of F2 dash, but opposite in direction. These two forces, F2 dash and F4 dash, are collinear, equal in magnitude, and are opposite in direction. Therefore, F1 dash and F3 dash produces rotational motion in the rectangular coil. Therefore, the torque tau dash acting on this loop must be equal to tau 1 dash plus tau 3 dash, which is equal to F1 dash D plus F3 dash D, where D is the moment arm. I will show you here in the diagram. You can see that this is inclined, and you can see this is inclination here. This is parallel to the magnetic field. This is parallel to magnetic field, and this is right angle triangle. Okay, so this perpendicular distance is nothing but moment arm. I can give you one more figure to this. This is that figure. So it is rotated by certain angle. So therefore, can I say that D, which is nothing but equal to B by 2 cos 90 minus theta. Hence, D is equal to B by 2 sin theta. Substituting D in the given equation, tau dash is equal to F1 dash B by 2 sin theta plus F3 dash B by 2 sin theta, which is equal to ILB B by 2 sin theta plus ILB B by 2 sin theta. Hence, we get ILB sin theta. A is nothing but area of the loop, which is equal to LB. Therefore, torque tau dash is equal to IBA sin theta. If it is a coil of n turns, then the net torque tau dash is equal to NBIA sin theta. Equation number 13. Dear students, in this lecture we have studied an important derivation for torque acting on current carrying loop. We were deriving the expression for torque and we were halfway, as this article is slightly bigger and difficult to understand. The remaining part we shall do in the upcoming lectures.